Amy Roloff, a name once synonymous with the image of a strong, resilient woman, a devoted mother, and a reality TV star known to millions through the show Little People, Big World. But behind the radiant smile and warm family moments on the small screen lay a dark secret, a truth she had hidden for so long, a secret that could shatter everything she had ever built. The hidden truth. Amy Roloff is gay. It was a truth she struggled with for many years. From a young age, Amy felt a sense of difference within herself. But amidst the pressure of family, societal expectations, and the watchful eyes of millions of fans, she never dared to admit that truth, not even to herself. Memories of inner conflict. Amy's early years were marked by long periods of confusion. She grew up in a conservative family where love was always defined by traditional norms. Even when her heart stirred with unusual emotions, she tried to suppress them. When Amy met Matt Roloff, she thought he was the answer to all her problems. He was a strong, loving, and understanding man. They fell in love, got married, and built a happy family together. But deep down, Amy always felt an emptiness that Matt's love could never fill. When Little People, Big World became a phenomenon, the lives of Amy and Matt became the focus of millions of viewers. People saw them as the perfect family, a resilient couple overcoming every challenge together. But behind the glamour, Amy led a double life. She always had to hide her true self, always had to smile even though her heart was breaking. Whenever she stood in front of the camera, she played the role of the happy wife and devoted mother. But when night fell, she would bury her face in her pillow, crying in silence. As time passed, the pressure of living a lie weighed more heavily on Amy. She tried to love Matt, tried to fulfill her role as a wife, but her heart grew emptier. She turned to psychology books, secretly joined LGBTQ+ support groups, trying to understand herself. But it only made her more miserable because she knew she couldn't avoid the truth forever. One night, when everyone was asleep, Amy looked in the mirror and saw a stranger, a woman living in deception and fear. She asked herself, "Is this the life I want? A life lived for others but never for myself." Finally, Amy couldn't bear it anymore. She decided to speak the truth. One rainy afternoon, when Matt came home, Amy sat in the living room, her eyes filled with anxiety and fear. "I need to tell you something," she began, her voice trembling. "I'm gay." Her words were like a thunderbolt in a clear sky. Matt froze. He looked into Amy's eyes, trying to find deceit in them, but all he saw was despair. He laughed, a bitter laugh. "Is this a joke? Have you been joking all these years?" Amy burst into tears. "No, Matt. I never wanted to hurt you. I tried to love you, tried to be a good wife, but that's not who I am." The inevitable breakdown. Matt couldn't accept the truth. He felt betrayed, deceived. Memories of their happy family now seemed meaningless. Every moment with Amy now felt like a string of lies. He left the house, leaving Amy behind in pain and loneliness. In the days that followed, Matt sank into a state of mental collapse. He couldn't focus on work, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Friends tried to comfort him, but their words were like distant echoes. The breakdown of the family didn't just affect Amy and Matt, but also hurt their children. They couldn't understand why their parents were separating, why the mother they loved had become a stranger. One of the children confronted Amy, shouting, "Why did you destroy this family? Why did you choose to live like this?" Matt, the battle with psychological shadows. Matt sank into the darkness of despair. He couldn't erase the image of Amy confessing that truth. In his mind, every beautiful memory now became a dagger stabbing at his heart. He turned to alcohol, to sleeping pills, trying to escape the pain. But nothing could help him escape reality. Eventually, Matt had to be hospitalized for psychological treatment. Each day was a battle with himself. He met with therapists, attended group therapy sessions, but the feeling of betrayal always weighed heavily on him. Amy, the journey to rediscover herself. Meanwhile, Amy tried to rebuild her life. She moved out and lived alone in a small apartment, trying to integrate into the LGBTQ+ community, seeking acceptance from those around her. But nothing was easy. She became the subject of gossip. Those who once admired her now looked at her with contempt. Even close friends turned their backs on her. Amy stumbled many times but always got back up. She began attending workshops, sharing her story, helping others struggling with their identity. The bitter lesson of truth. Amy Roloff's story is not just a personal tragedy, but a lesson about truth and lies, about the courage to live authentically and the cost of truth. Amy found herself again, but the price was the breakdown of her family, the unending pain of Matt and their children. Will Amy find peace? Will Matt overcome this pain? As time passed, the truth about Amy being gay shattered everything she had ever built. But the price of truth was not just the destruction of her family, but also a series of painful, lonely days without end. The inevitable collapse. When Matt Roloff left the house after Amy's confession, a deadly silence fell over the home they once called a haven. Their children were trapped between two worlds, the world they once knew as a happy family and a new chaotic world where their mother was a completely different person. Matt sank deeper into the darkness of sorrow. He refused to talk to Amy, refused to listen to any explanation. He felt betrayed, deceived, and every memory of their love now seemed like a series of lies. Sleepless nights became normal for Matt. In the bedroom that once held their most beautiful memories, only emptiness remained, and the ticking clock seemed like an endless reminder of the unrelenting pain. Amy, the painful journey to find herself. Amy left Roloff Farms, taking only a few personal belongings and countless heavy memories. She rented a small apartment in an unfamiliar area where no one knew her as the famous TV mom. Every day, she faced loneliness, the pain of losing the family she once loved. But she also had to confront herself, the woman she had hidden for so many years. Amy began attending therapy, trying to understand herself, to discover why she had lived a lie for so long. In group therapy sessions, Amy met people like herself, those who had lived in deception, who had suffered from fear of judgment, who had lost everything just because they dared to live true to themselves. But instead of finding comfort, Amy only felt the pain grow, the unshareable loneliness. Every night, Amy sat alone by the window, looking down at the dark street, wondering if she had done the right thing. Was the truth worth the price she paid? Would she ever find peace after all? But no matter how hard she tried, Amy couldn't escape the guilt. She blamed herself for deceiving Matt, for breaking the family she once loved. She tried to contact her children, but her calls were often rejected. The children, those she once loved and protected, now saw her as a stranger. Meanwhile, Matt couldn't overcome the psychological shock. He sank deeper into depression, refused to see friends, and avoided work. Roloff Farms, once a symbol of family happiness, was now just an empty, desolate place. Amy and Matt's lives would never be the same. They had chosen separate paths, trying to find peace in their own ways. But the memories of happy days, of painful breakdowns, would always be a part of their lives. Amy Roloff's story has no happy ending, but it is an honest story of the struggle between truth and lies, of the price of living true to oneself. Amy Roloff's life had become a labyrinth of shattered dreams and painful truths. The smile that once lit up millions of television screens was now just a faded memory, replaced by the shadow of sorrow and regret. Alone in her small apartment, Amy stared out of the rain-streaked window, watching the world continue without her. Each droplet that slid down the glass seemed like a silent tear, tracing the path of her heartbreak. Matt Roloff, once her partner, her confidant, now existed as a ghost in her memories. His laughter, once a source of comfort, was now an echo that haunted her nights. She could still see the look in his eyes the day she told him the truth, a mixture of disbelief, betrayal, and overwhelming pain. A truth she thought would set her free had instead become the prison that held her captive. For Matt, life had become a battle against the darkness that threatened to consume him. He wandered through the empty halls of Roloff Farms, his once beloved sanctuary, now a desolate reminder of everything he had lost. The family photos on the walls seemed like cruel reminders of a life built on false promises and unspoken truths. He spent countless nights drowning his sorrows in alcohol, searching for answers at the bottom of a glass, but finding only a deeper emptiness. Their children, innocent victims of a broken dream, were left to pick up the pieces of a shattered family. They struggled to understand, their young hearts burdened with questions that had no answers. Why had their happy home become a place of silence and tears? Why had their mother become someone they barely recognized? Why had their father turned into a shadow of the strong man they once knew? Amy tried to reach out to them, but every attempt felt like a dagger twisting in her chest. Her messages went unanswered. Her calls were ignored. To them, she was the woman who had broken their family, who had traded their happiness for her own truth. Every time she saw their faces in old photos, a fresh wave of guilt washed over her. The world outside was no kinder. The internet, once a place of admiration, had become a court of judgment. Comments flooded in, some supportive, others cruel. She was called a liar, a betrayer, a woman who had destroyed her family for selfish reasons. Strangers who once praised her now tore her apart with words sharper than knives. Even friends she once trusted turned away, leaving her isolated in a world that seemed to have no place for her.